Hey everyone, it's Rod with Pow Group. Welcome back on the Pursuit of Wealth, your home for MJ stocks, crypto assets, and interviews. Today's Friday, July 21st. Happy Friday. Hope you're doing awesome. And in this video, we're going to be discussing whether or not is the market top close and a new bill that is being introduced. It's bipartisan, and it's a bill to ban Congress from owning stocks and also executive branch members. So we're going to discuss all that and more, and whether or not this could be the top indicator that we were looking for. Before we get to that, though, make sure to smash the like, help support me in the channel. It doesn't cost you anything. If you're new, you can subscribe, tick the bell, you'll be notified on any future videos or when I go live. Here's the article here. It was released from a couple days ago. I'm just getting some time now to create a video. As you've heard, I might have heard I hurt my back. Family was visiting. I hurt my back over the weekend, and I was out of commission for about 4 days. Wouldn't wish that pain on anyone, but pulled a back muscle or some spasms, maybe a combination of both. And I got some meds from the doctor, but feeling a lot better. But wanted to get a few videos out this weekend. Should be back to my regular self next week, but glad to be back. So as I mentioned, this press release was from July 19th. And if you recall, I've been talking about this for a while now, that we could potentially see a bill into the fall to ban Congress and executive branch officials and their families from owning stocks. And the reason why I said that is because the Federal Reserve bans stock trading and restricts other investing activities by top officials. That was back in October 2021 when the stock market was at all-time highs, right? Of course, they're not banning themselves from owning at all-time lows or 52-week lows. They're doing it at all-time highs and 52-week highs. And that is because the system is corrupt, folks. But a monkey, anybody with half a brain could have told you that this was not, smart. We shouldn't allow Federal Reserve members or Congress or, executive branch members or their families to be able to own stocks. Like I said, it's laughable that this was even allowed to even happen. So we need to be looking out for that because the Federal Reserve banned themselves, and then it was just a matter of time, more than likely, before Congress banned themselves. And Nancy Pelosi, one of the best stock traders of all time, right? Oh, I wonder how, because she's spending all this time for the American people and supporting and working for the American people. But how's she worth $120 million on a $223,000 salary? Well, Paul Pelosi, her husband, is an American businessman who owns and operates Financial Leasing Services, Inc., a San Francisco-based real estate and venture capital investment and consulting firm. So might that be insider trading again at the highest level? If you or I did any of this, we'd be put behind bars, right? And the Federal Reserve printed trillions of dollars to prop up the market in March 2020 during the C-19 scare. And that's something that didn't happen back in the dot-com boom and bust, right? But like anybody working for the Federal Reserve that knew that was going to happen could have bought stocks in anticipation of that. They would have been laughing all the way to the bank. And then whenever it was going to ban them from owning stocks, the Federal Reserve looked like heroes because they were selling at the very top, but we didn't want to sell them. We think the market's going to go up, but we're forced to sell, right? They look like heroes. And then now, Nancy Pelosi, insider trading at the highest level, and, passing laws that benefited companies like Tesla, and Paul Pelosi, her husband, and herself investing in Tesla. It's just shady and borderline criminal. These people should be behind bars, in my opinion. And until they start going to jail, this kind of thing is just going to keep happening. But unless we get this bill potentially passed, this could put an end to that. But again, this could be the top indicator of the market. We're very close to all-time highs on the S&P 500 in the broader market. And I think this could be our top because why? Well, there's not going to be any incentivization, right, for Congress or the Federal Reserve to continue to prop up the stock market, right? And we're at 52-week highs, all-time highs, basically. And, we've had 125% gains from March 2020 lows when the S&P 500 is accustomed to about 12% gains a year. So that means we had 10 years worth of gains condensed into about 1 year from the low. So what makes you think that they're going to want to keep the market up, right? So this is something that I'm going to be I was looking out for. I've been talking about this for months. And shout out to the PAL Group member who shared this. You know who you are. This is something that we were watching out for, and it's starting to come to fruition. But you can see here, Gillibrand and Hawley introduced landmark bill to ban stock trading and ownership by Congress, executive branch officials, and their families. Bill would ban stock trading, ownership, and blind trusts, increase disclosure, and boost penalties for violations. So Senators Kirsten Gillibrand and Josh Hawley introduced the Bipartisan Ban Stock Trading for Government Officials Act. The legislation would create a stringent stock trading ban and disclosure requirements for Congress senior executive branch officials and their spouses and dependents. Remind you of anything? Nancy Pelosi and Paul Pelosi. Creating additional transparency in financial disclosure reports and increased transaction report penalties under the original Stock Act. The bill represents the most substantive bipartisan effort to date to ban stock trading by members of Congress. Sunlight is the best disinfectant. It is critical that the American people know that their elected leaders are putting the public first, for a change, not looking for ways to line their own pockets. Golf clap, right? Doesn't take like I said, a low IQ person could figure this out, right? It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out, oh, people making laws and crafting legislation and the Federal Reserve making, monetary policy shouldn't be allowed to own stocks, said Senator Gillibrand. The landmark Ban Stock Trading for Government Officials Act bars members of Congress, executive branch officials, and their families from holding and trading stocks, increases disclosure requirements, and imposes harsh penalties and violations. This bill is the most substantive bipartisan effort to date, and I'm going to work hard alongside Senator Hawley to get it signed into law. Politicians and civil servants shouldn't spend their time day trading and trying to make a profit at the expense of the American public. But that's exactly what many are doing, said Senator Hawley. So how are they not behind bars? Their whole mission, we pay them, we the people are paying their salaries, and they're using that their time in office to invest in stocks. Like, how is that allowed? This, until they start going to jail or bills like this get passed, it's just going to keep happening. In my opinion, people should go to jail. Again, if you or I did that, we'd be in bars for the rest of our life. My bill with Senator Gillibrand is common sense, which common sense isn't so practiced these days, especially among these elected officials. Ban elected and executive branch officials from trading or holding stocks and put the American public first. Please, once for put the public first once and for all, and for a change, because clearly that has never really been their mandate. The Ban Stock Trading or Government Officials Act includes the following provisions. So ban stock trading and blind trust. I already mentioned a lot of this, but we'll go through this a little heavy, quicker here. Imposes heavy penalties for executive branch stock trading, requires reporting of federal benefits, creates transparency in financial disclosure reports, and increases Stock Act transaction report penalties. So the vast majority of Americans believe stock trading should be banned for members of Congress and top executive branch officials. According to a recent poll by Morning Consult Politico, at least 63% of Americans support banning stock trading for members of Congress and their families, as well for the president, vice president, and top officials at federal government agencies. Senator Gillibrand has been a champion of transparency and good government throughout her career. Gillibrand led Senate passage of the Stock Act in 2012, where she was the first member of Congress to post a daily report listing her official meetings, personal financial disclosures, earmark requests, and taxes online. Senator Hawley has introduced multiple pieces of legislation aimed at transparency and accountability for elected officials and civil servants. In January, Senator Hawley reintroduced his bill to ban lawmakers from stock trading. In March, he introduced legislation to ban senior executive branch officials from trading or holding individual stocks, which Biden Energy Secretary Granholm later expressed support for. So again, finally gaining some traction. It's bipartisan. This is looking like it really could pass into the fall. And if we just take a look at when the Federal Reserve banned themselves 2 years ago, October 2021, let's look at where the stock market was in October of 2021. So go back here to 2021, October. We were basically right around, all-time highs. And the thing about this is they didn't ban themselves here. They didn't ban themselves here. They waited until we had, like I said, March 2020 low from the high there, up 125-ish%, when the S&P is accustomed to a 12% annual gain. So you're talking about 10 years condensed into one. Where do you think we're going to go from here, right? And that marked the top right around the same time, marked the top in 2021 was the market top. And then we saw some massive downside. And taking the .com fractal, I said that we were likely heading to monthly oversold based on a similar fractal from back in the .com bubble, which the everything bubble of 2022. But I expected us to deviate because we were following it. But I said I expect us to deviate from it so that Congress can ban themselves. And that's exactly what we're seeing. We're not even that far away from all-time highs. What, we were less than 4%? Yeah, we're about 2.5%-ish away from all-time highs. And here we have a very plausible and high likelihood that this could pass, and then Congress bans themselves, right? So that's how manipulated and corrupt our markets really are. And, the government it's just sickening. It makes my stomach turn that this is even allowable. And then we're more than likely going to see them ban themselves here. Of course, not down here, not down here. And then we're going to see a massive capitulation event, and we're going to enter probably the worst type of market crash history, in my opinion, ever. And again, check out my video on how I'm preparing for one of the biggest market crashes in history. I've already done a video on that, but for effort of time, not going to get into it. But I do expect us to start to follow back down to this .com fractal, and I think we could go as low as 200s, maybe even a flush of 200 on the S&P 500. So again, the SPY ETF, I'm watching this like a hawk, and like I said, this bill is what I was watching for to potentially mark this top. So once we see that bill go into effect, like I said, it could be a few months before we really start to see the selling pressure pick up. But in my opinion, I think we could be setting a top over the next few months into the fall, and then that'll be the time to get out and sell and just either short or hedge. Whatever you got to do, check out my video, like I said, how I'm preparing for one of the worst market crashes of history. And as we potentially head toward monthly oversold into, maybe the spring of 2024, that's what I could see playing out. But let me know what you think of this in the comments below. But I think there's a 99% chance that this gets passed. Nothing's ever 100% guaranteed, but I would say this is close to 100% as it can get. But this is just sickening. I can't believe this was even allowed. And, it took them this long, right? That goes to show you how competent our governments are and the governments around the world are these days. Common sense, not so commonly practiced. But let me know what you think of this news in the comment section below. We'll continue the conversation there. Hope you have a great evening or day, wherever you're tuning in from. It's Rod with Power Group. Thanks again for joining us in the pursuit of wealth, and we'll see you on the next video.